First of all, it's nice having Robo back, and I told this team before the game that we have what I would call a lot of growth potential in us, because over the last, 6 or 7 games, we've had so many guys that have been down. Robo's been out, Isaiah's been out, Viante's been out, and we've had individual growth while they've been out. Marvin Cannon's game has grown. C.J. Ellabry's had some exceptional moments. Tonight you saw Gervais really grow up in the game. But yet we still have a lot of team potential growth in us that maybe some other teams don't have. They've had everybody. They're playing. They are who they are. We can get better. And the neat thing about it is we can get better here at home. The road where we have not had a lot of success has still forced us to grow, because some of those guys grew up on the road. Even though we weren't winning games, they were growing individually. When you talk about, again, Marvin's growth and CJ's growth out there on the road, Jeff Pollard's growth out on the road as well, too. So I was pleased with the way we played, particularly defensively, the way we shared the ball. But I was most impressed with them buying into going up in the stands and introducing themselves to this community. People know who they are on a college campus, so I think they do a tremendous job there. But for some of these fans, it was the first time out to a game, and they don't even know who their basketball team is. And hopefully we can continue that tradition to sending them up in the stands. They don't need to hear me after a game. It's more important they can go up and introduce themselves and meet some of the people in this community that come out and support them.
Robo's scoring kind of speaks for itself, but the other things he does on the floor where it's grabbing a rebound, pushing up the floor really quickly, can you kind of talk about his overall impact beyond what he does with his 20 points per game?
Yep. The biggest thing that you notice about him, that you noticed in practice 2 days ago, is the team calms down. And the reason it calms down is because you have another veteran player that understands your system, that has played, most improved player in the conference. He puts up numbers, but he allows us to play fast again. With him and CJ grabbing rebounds and pushing the pace, you've got a 6'7" and a 6'8" point guard. And all you have to do is stretch that floor the way Viante, Marvin Cannon stretched it. We just make more plays, and we really wanted to see if the turnovers were going to decrease, the rebound numbers are going to go up, the shooting potential goes back up to where it was at the beginning of the year, where the numbers have been terrible out on the road in these first 3 games, and that's because our team's been out of whack. So it's nice having him because the new guys don't feel like they have to do it. They don't have to have the pressure to make the play, make the shot. They can just kind of feed off of his energy that he puts to the floor in terms of understanding the game. And I just thought he was tremendous. But Gervais Robinson was that's probably the best that position's been played in a long time, the way he got us up and down the floor and found people.
Did it seem like Robo had his win the whole game, and you're comfortable playing him for an extended periods of time and playing him 30 minutes tonight?
You know, I joke with him because if I look around the room, all of you look pretty beat up, pretty fatigued to me, and I know I probably look beat up and fatigued. So just imagine if you had a 3-week vacation in the last 3 weeks, how you would feel. He better come out with the energy because he just had a 3-week vacation. So I told him that he had to get healthy and everything, but 3 weeks off from a rugged season, it does wonders for the body, spirit, and your mind as well, too. I'm trying to figure out how I can do that. I think I'd be a hell of a lot better if I get a 3-week break in the middle of the season. Ain't going to happen.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Ollie's told you in the past that he prefers to come off the bench, and he's gotten a couple starts so far. How is he adjusting to getting in the starting lineup?
You know, I thought he did a good job. He just picked up the 2 quick fouls just like CJ did, which kind of knocked our rotation out. But we've got enough depth that Gervais came right in and played extremely well. But to me, he's better starting the game because it gives us a lot of speed. It gives us a chance to get out and run, and his ability to shoot it, we can stretch the floor as well too. But either one of those guys, they just need to understand how to feed off of each other because they own the position, they command the position, they got to be able to handle the position. Doesn't matter which one starts or which one finishes the game. It's just the fact that they play well when they're out on the floor. It's the most important thing.
And I think this is the 3rd time that CJ has gotten in foul trouble relatively early. Is there a concern with him doing that over and over again?
You know, I tease them because if you think back to Josh Hawkinson, he was really good offensively. He kind of cruised on defense a little bit and got his numbers. And I'm always teasing Robo that you got to play harder on defense because what happens is if you don't play hard and somebody goes at you hard, you end up reaching fouls. And CJ is kind of going that direction. So we've got to correct that because I think he could be an exceptional defender. And he had a couple bad fouls. And the second one was really bad where his mindset was, I'm going to stop a layup. My mindset is, don't stop a layup, don't get the foul, and get your second foul and have to come out of the game. And that's just some learning things. So I'm not really concerned about it because I think him and Robo will grow and understand just how hard they need to play defense so they stay away from those little touch fouls, as I call them.
Coach, +6 rebounding tonight, 54% field goals from the field. Is Robo back? Does that just kind of set your offensive rhythm, really kind of your rhythm on both sides of the floor to a point where you are this different team that we saw tonight?
No question about it. You wait and see if you're going to play that way in Pac-12 play. But if you just think back again, the games where we have 20-plus assists in the game are those games where we really play well. We share the ball, we get up and down, we spread the floor. And what he does is another deep-range shooter. And you didn't see Carter Skaggs get moving tonight because he gives you another deep-range shooter. In the last 6 games, the last 3 in particular, Robo-out, teams have just sat on Viante. They've sat on Carter. And what I mean by that, they don't give him any threes. They don't give him any shots. The game becomes very boring to them. And then they keyed in on CJ. Well, now Robo comes back. He's at the top of the scouting report of an opponent. And then CJ can kind of do his thing. Then you got to scoring from Marvin, and scoring from Viante, scoring from Carter, it just opens the game up again because of his size more so than anything. He's very difficult to guard. Put a big on him, you take him outside. Put a little guy on him, you post him up. So he gives you a mismatch problem that kind of spreads through the floor. But most importantly, you can put him as a center, and you can put 4 other shooters around him. You got 5 3-point shooters on the floor. That's when we're really good, when we can do that.
Shooting a great clip, obviously first 10 minutes over 70%, and then they started to come back even though they weren't shooting as well. What would you sort of attribute that to?
Substitutions, rotation, and bad defense. And when you can't go to the bench and get on the floor and the momentum of the game changes, blow by, foul, blow by. And we had to get the rhythm back, and that's what we did in the second half. That's why you saw us stay with the group for a long period of time to get them comfortable, understanding how to play together and put points on the board and get stops. But you can't make substitutions and get out on the floor and get driven to the hoop for a layup, another layup, bad shot. It just changes everything. When you work so hard to get the momentum in your favor, you just can't do that. So that's where the bench is going to have to shorten until guys can come off that bench and be ready to defend.
You've mentioned you've wanted to see better, more consistent play out of your bigs. Jeff Pollard had an efficient 10 points tonight. Is that a modest step in the right direction for him?
After the Washington game, I just felt like he played really fatigued in the game. Isaiah was just getting back, and from Colorado on, those 3 have been challenged because Coop's in there too. They have to give us 20 and 10 from that position every night. I think Colorado, it was 24 and 12. And then Utah, we were like 17 and 7, and we dropped off a little bit again tonight. So between Devontae Cooper, Jeff Pollard, and Isaiah Wade, they have to give me 20 points and 12 rebounds from those 3 guys combined. Jeff did his part tonight. Isaiah and Coop didn't. In the Utah game, Isaiah had 12 and 7. Jeff only had 4 and 1. So they've got to get it done together because collectively that position can give us those kind of points. We're going to beat a lot of people.
And we've seen what Marvin Cannon can do, yet he only had 1 junior college offer coming out of high school. Just from your experience, why do players like that sometimes fall under the radar on the recruiting trail?
Marvin's thing to me was he's just a late bloomer, and he's a guy that his confidence, his body, was very thin coming out of high school, and different coaches look for different things. And in junior college, he didn't start out very well, and about halfway through the season, he's a starter. By the time he gets to the National Junior College Tournament, he leads them in scoring, rebounding, and blocks. And now he started out with us at the bottom, in terms of you ranked our team, and then all of a sudden you can't keep him off the floor. So it tells you something that he is a guy that eventually he will pick it up because I think coming out of junior college, he had about 15 offers. And here he chose to come here to Pullman, Washington, and he's just been terrific.
Carter didn't get in until about 3 minutes left. Was there just kind of a matchup thing with him tonight, or was he dealing with something else?
The biggest thing with Robo coming back that I noticed in practice on Wednesdays, you started looking around, and all of a sudden you got your numbers are back up. You got all these players around you, and for a coach, that's a great position to be in because you can really demand guys to be accountable defensively and ensuring the ball and those things. But it also is going to give rotation problems. We cannot play 11 guys. You've got to be somewhere in that 8 to 9, maybe 10-man rotation, but more 8 to 9 to get those minutes. That requires defense, giving the ball up, being on your game, being ready to play, being cold, all those things that go into it, and all of them are expected to do the same thing. So his game will come back to him. His night will come to him, but for right now, there's just a lot of players, and it's going to hold everybody accountable to defending, rebounding, blocking out, playing smart, taking good shots, and that's exactly where we need to be. So I'm not worried about Carter because he is what he is. He's a tremendous shooter, and he will have chances with 15 games to go in a tournament. He's still got a lot of basketball to play.